The cargo ship Aurora Dawn drifted through the void sector, carrying medical supplies to the outer colonies. Captain Jake Miller and his crew of 12 had made this run dozens of times. The ship was old but reliable, armed only with basic defensive shields. 3 alien vessels emerged from behind an asteroid field. The Keth raiders were known for their brutal attacks on merchant ships. Their ships were sleek and deadly, painted in dark red to match their reputation. "Captain, we're being hailed," said Tom, the communications officer. The main screen flickered to life, showing Commander Vex of the Keth fleet. His face was covered in ritual scars, and his eyes glowed with cruel intent. "Human vessel, prepare to be boarded. Your cargo belongs to us now." Captain Miller tried to negotiate. "We're carrying medical supplies for sick colonists. Take what you want, but let us go." Vex laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the bridge. "Humans are weak. Your mercy makes you pray." The Keth ships opened fire without warning. The Aurora. Dawn's shields failed in minutes. Hull breaches tore through the cargo bay. Emergency alarms screamed as the ship shuddered under the assault. Miller ordered his crew to abandon ship, but the Keth were faster. Boarding pods slammed into the hull. Armed raiders stormed through the corridors, cutting down anyone they found. Tom fell first, trying to send a distress signal. The engineer was shot while attempting to reach the escape pods. One by one, the crew was hunted down like animals. Captain Miller made his last stand on the bridge. He fought with a plasma rifle until the power cells ran dry, then drew his sidearm. When that was empty, he used his bare hands. Vex found him bleeding on the floor, barely alive. "Your species thinks it rules the galaxy," Vex sneered. "But you die just like any other weak race." Miller looked up with defiant eyes. "You have no idea what you've done. Enlighten me, human." With his last breath, Miller smiled. "That distress beacon it doesn't just call for help. It tells them who killed us." Vex kicked the dying captain and ordered his crew to strip the ship. They took everything of value, leaving the Aurora Dawn as a floating tomb. The raiders jumped to hyperspace, confident in their victory. They had no idea that the beacon was already transmitting. The message traveled through space, reaching the nearest human military outpost in 6 hours. From there, it spread through the entire human fleet network. The message was simple. Keth raiders had attacked a civilian vessel. All 12 crew members were dead. No survivors. Admiral Ross received the transmission at Starbase 7. She was a veteran of 3 wars, known for her tactical brilliance and iron will. Her face remained calm as she read the report, but her staff could see the fury building in her eyes. "How many ships do we have in the sector?" she asked. 17 warships, Admiral, plus the new battlecruiser Vengeance." Admiral Ross stood up slowly. "Send a message to all human colonies and military installations. The Keth have crossed a line. They attacked our people without provocation and showed no mercy." She paused, looking out at the stars through the viewport. "Prepare the fleet. We're going hunting." The word spread quickly through human space. The attack on the Aurora Dawn became a rallying cry. Volunteers flooded recruitment centers. Ship captains offered their services. Even civilian vessels requested permission to join the hunt. The Keth had made a fatal mistake. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for both compassion and vengeance. The same species that sent medical supplies to distant colonies would now bring hellfire to those who threatened innocent lives. Meanwhile, Vex and his raiders celebrated their easy victory at a hidden base in the Crimson Nebula. They sold stolen cargo and divided the profits. To them, it was just another successful raid. They had no idea that their actions had awakened something terrible. The human war machine was already moving, Gathering strength like a storm building on the horizon, the Keth would soon learn that attacking a human ship wasn't just an act of piracy. It was a declaration of war against the most dangerous species. In the galaxy, and humanity never forgot. They never forgave. They always collected their debts. The hunt was about to begin. Asterisk. Admiral Ross stood before the holographic display in the war room. 17 ships surrounded Starbase 7, their hulls gleaming under the station's lights. The newest addition was the battle cruiser Vengeance, fresh from the shipyards and armed with the latest human weapons technology. Intel report, she ordered. Commander Blake stepped forward with a datapad. The Keth operate from 3 main bases. Their largest facility is in the Crimson Nebula, protected by asteroid fields and sensor scramblers. Estimated 40 ships, plus defensive platforms. What about their leadership? Commander Vex leads the raiding fleets. He's responsible for 37 attacks on civilian vessels in the past 2 years. The Keth High Command considers him a hero. Admiral Ross nodded grimly. Not for much longer. What's our tactical assessment? The Keth rely on speed and surprise. Their ships are fast but lightly armored. They've never faced a coordinated human fleet response. The Admiral studied the tactical display. Red dots marked known Keth positions, while blue icons showed human forces. More ships were arriving hourly as word of the attack spread. "Ma'am, we're receiving a transmission from the Colonial Defense Force," reported the communications officer. "Put it through." A weathered face appeared on the screen. Captain Hayes commanded the militia forces protecting the outer colonies. "Admiral, my ships are ready to join your fleet." The Aurora Dawn was carrying medicine for my daughter's colony. "This is personal." Similar calls came in throughout the day. Merchant captains offered their cargo vessels as supply ships. Mining companies provided detailed maps of asteroid fields. Even the normally neutral trading guild shared intelligence about Keth movements. The Keth had united humanity against them. Without realizing it, Dr. Emma Wells arrived on the next transport from Earth. She was the galaxy's leading expert on alien psychology and had studied the Keth for years. "Admiral, you need to understand how they think," she explained during the briefing. "The Keth respect only strength. They see mercy as weakness and diplomacy as cowardice. In their culture, the strong take from the weak without consequence." "Then we'll show them strength," Admiral Ross replied. "It's not that simple. They've been the apex predators in this sector for centuries. No one has ever challenged them successfully. They literally cannot comprehend that another species might be more dangerous than they are." The Admiral leaned back in her chair. "What happens when an apex predator meets something higher up the food chain?" Dr. Wells smiled grimly. "It becomes prey." Meanwhile, in the Crimson Nebula, Vex was planning his next raid. The attack on the Aurora Dawn had brought in good profits, and his crew was eager for more action. "Target selection?" he asked his lieutenant. 3 human convoys passed through the border zones this week. All lightly defended, easy pickings. Vex studied the tactical display. "The humans haven't responded to our last attack. They're probably hoping we'll leave them alone if they don't provoke us. Should we hit all 3 convoys? No, we'll take the largest one. Make it spectacular. I want the humans to know that running won't save them." What Vex didn't know was that those convoys were bait. Admiral Ross had deliberately sent them along predictable routes, hoping to draw the Keth into a trap. Each convoy was secretly escorted by cloaked destroyers, ready to spring the ambush when the raiders appeared. Back at Starbase 7, the human fleet continued to grow. 23 warships now orbited the station, with more arriving daily. The Vengeance served as the flagship, its quantum cannons and plasma torpedoes representing the cutting edge of human military technology. Admiral Ross called her senior officers together for a final briefing. Gentlemen, we're not just hunting. Pirates. We're sending a message to every hostile species in the galaxy. Attack human civilians and face the consequences. She activated the holographic display, showing the planned attack routes. Phase 1. We eliminate their raiding fleets. Hit them when they're separated and vulnerable. Phase 2. We assault their supply bases and destroy their infrastructure. Phase 3. We take their main base and capture their leadership. Commander Blake raised his hand. Rules of engagement. The Admiral's expression hardened. They showed no mercy to the crew of the Aurora Dawn. They will receive the same consideration they gave our people. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. One more thing, Admiral Ross added. Make sure they know why they're dying. I want every Keth warrior to understand that this is the price of attacking innocent humans. The fleet prepared to depart. In 12 hours, the Keth would learn that humanity was not weak, prey to be hunted. They were about to discover what happened when you awakened a sleeping giant. Asterisk. The convoy Lucky Strike moved slowly through the border zone, its 3 cargo ships protected by a single escort frigate. To any watching enemy, it looked like an easy target, but appearances were deceiving, hidden in the ship's sensor shadows. 4 human destroyers waited in silent running mode. Their crews had been holding position for 6 hours, watching for any sign of Keth raiders. Commander Lisa Park commanded the destroyer Retribution. She studied her displays with practiced eyes, looking for the telltale energy signatures that would reveal enemy ships. Contact, whispered the sensor operator. 3 vessels bearing 27 Mark IV, moving to intercept the convoy. Park smiled coldly. Keth raiders? Confirmed. Same ship types that attacked the Aurora Dawn. Battle stations. Signal the other destroyers. Remember, we want at least 1 ship intact for interrogation. The Keth ships moved in for the kill, completely unaware of the trap. Vex himself led this raid, eager to add another victory to his record. Human convoy ahead, reported his scanner operator. Minimal defenses. This will be quick. Vex activated his ship's weapon systems. All vessels, attack formation. Take the cargo ships first, then finish the escort. The Keth opened fire on the convoy, their plasma beams tearing through the frigate's shields. But instead of running, the cargo ships suddenly changed course and activated military-grade jamming systems. What, Vex started to say, then alarms screamed throughout his bridge. 4 human destroyers decloaked simultaneously, surrounding the Keth raiders. Their weapons were already charged and locked on target. This is Commander Park of the human fleet, came the transmission. You are surrounded. Surrender immediately or be destroyed. Vex snarled at the screen. Humans, you dare to ambush Keth. Warriors, you murdered 12 innocent people on the Aurora Dawn. Now face justice. The strong take from the weak. That is the way of the galaxy. Park's voice turned ice cold. Then let us show you who's really strong. The human destroyers opened fire in perfect coordination. Quantum cannons and plasma torpedoes struck all 3 Keth ships simultaneously. The raiders' shields collapsed in seconds under the devastating barrage. Vex's ship shuddered as explosions tore through the hull. Return fire, all weapons. But the humans had planned this perfectly. Their ships moved in practiced formations, using superior firepower and tactics to overwhelm the raiders. Within minutes, 2 Keth vessels were dead in space, their crews either killed or unconscious from the impacts. Vex's flagship tried to escape, but the destroyers had positioned themselves to block all retreat routes. Plasma fire crippled his engines, leaving the ship helpless. Boarding parties, prepare to launch. Commander Park ordered. The human Marines wore full combat armor and carried weapons designed to penetrate Keth defensive systems. They cut through the raider ship's hull like it was paper, moving through the corridors with deadly efficiency. The Keth fought desperately, but they were unprepared for human military tactics. The Marines used coordinated team movements, advanced sensors, and overwhelming firepower to clear each section of the ship. Vex made his last stand on the bridge, wielding a curved blade that glowed with energy. He had killed dozens of enemies with that weapon, but the humans were different from his usual prey. Marine Sergeant Davis faced him in single combat while his team secured the rest of the bridge. The Keth commander was fast and skilled, but Davis had been training for this moment since the news of the Aurora Dawn reached Earth. The fight was brutal but brief. Vex's blade shattered against Davis's combat armor, and the human's plasma rifle ended the engagement with a single shot. "Bridge secured," Davis reported. "Primary target is down." Commander Park reviewed the battle reports with satisfaction. 3 Keth ships destroyed or captured, with minimal human casualties. More importantly, they had recovered intact computer cores containing intelligence data. "What did we learn?" she asked the intelligence officer. "Location of their main base, fleet compositions, planned attack routes. Everything we need for the next phase." The captured Keth survivors were transported to the fleet's holding facilities. Under interrogation, they revealed the scope of their operations and the location of other raiding groups. Admiral Ross received the report 6 hours later at Starbase 7. "Excellent work, Commander Park. How did the enemy react to our tactics?" "They were completely unprepared, Admiral. They expected another easy victory like the Aurora Dawn. Instead, they ran into a buzzsaw." "Good. Make sure word of this defeat spreads through their communication networks. I want every Keth warrior to know that attacking humans has consequences." The first phase of the human response was complete. The hunters had become the hunted, and the Keth were about to learn that their reign of terror was coming to an end. The message was clear: attack a human ship and face the full wrath of humanity's military machine. Admiral Ross stood on the bridge of the Vengeance as her fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the Crimson Nebula. 31 human warships formed a battle line that stretched across the star field, their weapons powered and ready for combat. "Sensor report," she commanded. "Admiral, we're detecting multiple contacts within the nebula. At least 25 Keth vessels, plus defensive platforms around their main base." The Keth stronghold was built into a massive asteroid, its surface bristling with weapon emplacements and shield generators. It had been their sanctuary for over a century, the place where they planned their raids and counted their stolen wealth. Today, it would become their tomb. "Admiral," the communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the Keth base." "Put it through." The main screen showed High Commander Zark, the Keth leader whose scarred face bore the marks of 100 battles. His eyes burned with fury as he recognized the human fleet. "You dare approach our sacred stronghold?" he roared. "Your pathetic species will be swept away like dust." Admiral Ross replied calmly, "High Commander Zark, I am Admiral Ross of the Human Defense Fleet. You are guilty of unprovoked attacks on civilian vessels. Surrender now, and your people will be treated according to the laws of war." Zark's laughter echoed through the bridge. "Laws of war? The strong take from the weak. That is the only law that matters. Then you have chosen death." The Admiral cut the transmission and addressed her fleet. "All ships, commence Operation Payback. Remember the Aurora Dawn." The human fleet advanced in perfect formation. The Keth launched their ships to meet them, confident that superior numbers would carry the day. They had never fought a species that combined advanced technology with disciplined tactics. The first exchange of fire lit up the nebula like a dying star. Keth plasma beams struck human shields, while quantum cannons replied with devastating accuracy. But the humans had studied their enemies' weaknesses and every shot was calculated for maximum effect. Captain Meyer commanded the destroyer Justice, one of 17 ships in the main battle group. His crew had trained for months, preparing for this moment. Target their command vessel, he ordered. Concentrate fire on their bridge section. The Keth flagship Bloodhunter tried to maneuver away, but human targeting computers predicted its movements perfectly. Quantum cannon fire punched through its shields and tore massive holes in the hull. Across the battlefield, the same scene played out repeatedly. Keth ships that had terrorized merchant vessels for years were being systematically destroyed by superior human firepower and tactics. High Commander Zark watched his fleet die with growing horror. These humans fought nothing like the terrified civilians his raiders usually hunted. They moved with machine-like precision, their weapons striking with deadly accuracy. All ships fall back to the base perimeter, he commanded, but retreat was impossible. The humans had surrounded the entire nebula, cutting off all escape routes. Admiral Ross had planned this operation like a chess master, thinking dozens of moves ahead. The surviving Keth ships reached the protective shield of their asteroid base, but even that sanctuary was failing. Human battle cruisers targeted the shield generators with concentrated fire, slowly wearing down the defensive barriers. "Sir, shield strength at 30%, reported Zark's tactical officer. "Launch all fighters. Activate the torpedo batteries." Hundreds of Keth fighter craft swarmed out of the asteroid's launch bays, but they were met by human interceptors guided by advanced AI systems. The dogfight that followed was spectacular, but one dash-sided human pilots had been training against computer simulations of Keth tactics for weeks. They knew every maneuver, every weakness, every predictable attack pattern. The enemy fighters were shot down in droves, but Admiral Ross watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Commander Blake, prepare the Marine Assault Force." "I want that base taken intact." "Yes, Admiral." "All boarding teams are ready." The Keth shields finally collapsed under the relentless bombardment. Human Marines in powered armor stormed through the breached hull sections, fighting room by room through the asteroid base. The defenders were fierce but desperate. They had never faced an enemy that matched their brutality while exceeding their skill. Human soldiers moved through the corridors like angels of death, their advanced weapons and armor making them nearly unstoppable. High Commander Zark made his final stand in the command center, surrounded by his elite guards. They fought with the fury of cornered animals, but it wasn't enough. Asterisk. Sergeant Martinez kicked down the blast doors and entered with his squad. The firefight lasted 30 seconds. When the smoke cleared, Zark lay bleeding on the floor, his guards dead around him. "High Commander," Martinez said, standing over the defeated leader, "this is for the crew of the Aurora Dawn." The base was secured within 4 hours. The Keth fleet was destroyed, their leadership captured or killed, and their century-long reign of terror had ended. Admiral Ross received the final casualty reports with mixed emotions. The mission was a complete success, but victory had come at a cost. Still, justice had been served. The galaxy would know that attacking human civilians carried a terrible price. Asterisk. 6 months after the Battle of Crimson Nebula, Admiral Ross stood before the Galactic Council on the neutral world of Haven Prime. Representatives from 200 species filled the massive amphitheater, their varied forms creating a tapestry of alien life. The human delegation sat in the accused section, facing charges of excessive force and unprovoked aggression against the Keth Empire. Several species had demanded an investigation into human military actions. Ambassador Chun, Earth's representative to the Council, rose to address the Assembly. "Honored delegates, we are here to discuss humanity's response to unprovoked attacks on our civilian vessels." The Keth delegate, a younger warrior named Thok, who had inherited leadership after Zark's death, stood to respond. The humans destroyed our entire fleet. They showed no mercy, no honor in battle. Murmurs filled the chamber. Many species were uncomfortable with humanity's decisive military response. The galaxy had grown accustomed to conflicts that dragged on for years with limited casualties. Ambassador Chun activated a holographic display. Let us review the facts. The Keth attacked the merchant vessel Aurora Dawn, killing 12 unarmed civilians. They took no prisoners and showed no mercy. The display showed recordings from the ship's final moments, including Captain Miller's last words. The chamber fell silent as delegates witnessed the brutal efficiency of the Keth attack. The humans violated the principles of proportional response, argued the delegate from the Zorlan Federation. They destroyed an entire civilization over a single incident. Admiral Ross stepped forward. Permission to address the council? The chief arbitrator, an ancient being whose species had mediated galactic disputes for millennia, nodded approval. Honored delegates, the admiral began, I want you to understand something about humanity. We are a species that values life above all else. When the Aurora Dawn was carrying medical supplies to sick colonists that represented our highest ideals, she paused, letting her words sink in. But we are also a species that believes in justice. When innocent people are murdered, we do not simply file a diplomatic protest. We act. The Vortic delegate, whose species had been battling the Keth for decades, spoke up. The humans accomplished in 6 months what we could not do in 50 years. They eliminated a threat that had plagued this entire sector. At what cost? Demanded the Altarian representative. They wiped out an entire culture. Admiral Ross's voice hardened. The Keth culture was built on murder and theft. They preyed on the innocent and called it strength. When they attacked our ship, they declared war on our values. She activated another display, showing the Keth's attack records over the past century. 1,437 ships attacked. Over 15,000 civilians. Killed. 23 species driven from their home systems. The numbers hung in the air like an accusation. Where was the Galactic Council during those attacks? Admiral Ross continued. Where were the calls for justice when merchant crews were slaughtered for their cargo? Ambassador Chun stood beside the admiral. The galaxy ignored the Keth's crimes because they mostly targeted weak, undefended vessels. But humanity refuses to accept that might makes right. Your response was still excessive, the Keth delegate protested. Admiral Ross turned to face him. Directly, let me make something perfectly clear to this council and to every species represented here. Humanity will defend our people with every weapon at our disposal. Attack our civilians and face the consequences. The chief arbitrator called for order as heated discussions broke out across the chamber. After hours of debate, the council reached its verdict. The Galactic Council finds that while humanity's response was severe, it was justified given the systematic nature of Keth aggression against civilian targets. The case is dismissed. Outside the council chambers, reporters from across the galaxy surrounded the human delegation. Admiral, what message does this send to other hostile species? Asked a journalist. The message is simple, Ross replied. Humanity values peace, but we are not passive. We will trade with you, share knowledge with you, even help defend you against common threats. But if you attack our people, if you prey on the innocent and defenseless, you will face the full might of human military force. The news spread quickly throughout the galaxy. Species that had been planning raids on human shipping routes quietly canceled their operations. Pirates and raiders found other hunting grounds, far from human space. The Aurora Dawn Memorial was dedicated on Earth a year later. Captain Miller and his crew were remembered as heroes, whose sacrifice had led to a safer galaxy for all peaceful species. Admiral Ross spoke at the ceremony. addressing the families of the fallen. Your loved ones did not die in vain. Their sacrifice showed the galaxy that humanity will never abandon those who cannot defend themselves. As ships from dozens of species attended the memorial service, it was clear that the galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity could be the galaxy's greatest friend or its most terrible enemy. The choice was up to those who encountered them. The End Asterisk.